Hello everyone, good day. We are from B.Ed to C and we are going to discuss the 5 facets of music teaching. The first facet of music teaching is singing. Singing is an activity which is common in a music classroom. It is therefore necessary for the music teacher to know the proper way to sing so that his singing may be the example to the children in his class. Just like what we did the maestro to the choir or the trainer of the choir. The trainer of the choir will going to teach in how to breathe and how to open your mouth for you to be able to participate the choir. So, as a teacher also, the teacher must do or must responsible in teaching the music. So, meaning, if you are going to teach music, you will going to teach your class clearly. Okay, so next is singing is the core of music education program. And lastly, every child is a potential singer. But sometimes we come out across children who, for one reason or another, do not sing in exact tunes. These children are not really monotones but just unturned, like instruments which are not turned correctly. So let's continue with root song. So when we talk about root song, a song to be taught by root or by frequent repetition to the learner as a child before it is able to read. So preparing children for singing. So what are the things that we must do in order to prepare the children for singing? Okay, so these are the following. The use of instruments may be a device not only for the musical growth of the children but also for their enjoyment and understanding of the music. The first instrument experiences of the children may be with toy or rhythm band instruments. Second is, some children are not prepared to sing or not prepared to sing part songs and therefore are unable to participate in choral activities. The music teachers may be able to help the children to develop their singing readiness by the use of the following singing activities. Singing songs with chanting, that is, singing the bas do, sol, or fa together with the song depending on the character of the song. So second is singing songs with a chant. A chant is a figure or phrase sung repeatedly with a praises of a song. So then chant is used therefore with songs that have only one harmony throughout. So, what are the 4 main vocal ranges? So, the 4 main vocal ranges are the soprano, the alto, the tenor, and the bass. So, when we talk about these 4 main vocal ranges, it talks about the classification of our voices. Okay, so first is soprano. Soprano is a type of classical female singing voice and has the highest vocal range of all voice types. And next is alto. In Italian, high. The alto is the second highest vocal range of a female. Next is tenor. So when we talk about tenor, it is the highest natural adult male voice. And the last one is bass. When we talk about bass, the bass is the lowest vocal range of a male. So meaning the bass is the lowest vocal ranges of all.
The second facet of music teaching is listening. So what do we mean by listening? Listening is the ability to accurately receive and interpret messages in the communication process. It is the key to all effective communication. Without the ability to listen effectively, messages are easily misunderstood. If there is one communication skill you should aim to master, then listening is it. In the communication process, the ability to correctly receive and interpret messages, all good communication relies on it. Messages might be easily misread if you don't know how to listen well. Listening is one of the most important communication skills can develop. Reader's view. The world of music is unfolded to children through varied experiences in singing, playing instruments, rhythm, and dancing and creative activities. Children usually develop with excellence among these lines, but it is hoped that each one may find at least one piece of the work which can provide enrichment in his life, not only in his childhood, but also in his adulthoods. Perhaps only few will develop into skillful performers, like singer, dancers, or composer, but a good number of all can be all discriminating and sensitive listeners. Active listening similarly requires students to engage with and think about what they hear. In other words, active listening is listening with a purpose. So, active listening is a way of listening and responding to another person that improves mutual understanding. It is an important first step to diffuse the situation and seek solution to problems. There are three types of listening: the affective listening, structural listening, and dialogic listening. Affective listening. This type of listening is perhaps the most basic. Useful questions for this type of listening typically prompt students to voice their observation in a basic level. Affective listening means the most basic form of hearing. Students are generally prompted to articulate their thoughts in a basic level by useful questions for this style of listening. Structural listening. This type of listening approaches a musical example almost like a sculpture or a painting, in which you point students towards particular moments and see the ways in which those moments are the culmination of the particular trajectories. As such, structural listening often means comparing different moments from within a particular piece. The term structural listening describes an approach to listening that considers musical works as autonomous structures, which is defined wholly through some implicit and intelligible principle of unity, and it is used as a view of the musical work and therein the place the musical canon. Dialogic listening. This type of listening is perhaps the most complex and time-consuming, yet also the most fruitful and potentially rewarding. As the name implies, this type of listening places a musical example in dialogue with external elements, generic conventions. other musical pieces, artwork, text, objects, etc. Teaching with music does not preclude using text or visual as well. Dialogic listening means it serves to orient participants to a joint activity where you all work together to construct an understanding of the conversation or issue. In this form of listening, the focus is on what is happening between the participants rather than each person trying to determine what the other is thinking.
Creative work, a manifestation of creative efforts such as artwork, literature, music, paintings, and software. Creative work has a common degree of arbitrariness such that it is improbable that two people would independently create the same work. And music, creativity refers to divergent and convergent mental processes that result in innovative and beneficial musical creations, executed both solo and in ensemble. Specific modes of musicianship or combinations of moods such as improvisation, composition, performance, analysis, and listening can all be used to express it. Mentioned by Helsuti, a new study suggests that listening to happy music promotes more divergent thinking, a key element of creativity. The findings show that people may wish to listen to pleasant music while working, especially if they need to think of innovative approaches to solve a specific problem. Music listening may be enjoyed to foster creative thinking in diverse scientific, educational, and organizational settings and economical and efficient methods when creative thinking is needed. The author concludes. Creative movements it may be approached from different means. After the discussion of the meaning of a familiar song, the children may be led to create different types of actions to depict different movements suggested in the song. A joyful way for children to explore movement through music, develop mental skills, channel energy, stimulate imagination, and promote creativity. Rhythmic movements, an interesting way of interpreting music. It may be performed in the following forms. The fundamental bodily movements such as walking, running, or skipping. Rhythmic activities like swaying or clapping the hands or dangling. So, locomotor and axial movements are the two types of physical movements. Locomotor movements can be performed in a variety of ways, including a circular or semicircle at a slow or fast pace, for long or short periods, and with light, heavy, or smooth movements. Swinging the hands, spinning the arms, or falling are examples of axial movements in space. Interpretative movements. It may be suggested by the sound made by animals or objects, of jingles, rhymes, or sailing calls, and greetings and farewells. Music heard or performed may suggest varied movements. Dance steps can be adapted to different moods of music. Incorporates a wide variety of dance styles and techniques. The most important element being that it typically depicts a story or emotion. Interpretative dance comes out of a modern dance tradition that began in the early 1990s.
Instrumental works. Instrumental works is a process of instrument learning or a method of training in which the reinforcement is made by contingent on the occurrence of the response. So through instrumental works, students learn countless lifelong skills that help them to develop into intelligent, creative leaders. Rhythm band. The use of instruments may be a device not only for musical growth of the children, but also for their enjoyment and understanding of music. So instrument is not just for musical growth, but also for the enjoyment of the children. The first instrumental experiences of the children may be with toy or rhythm band instruments. The objectives for using the rhythm band instruments are to utilize the instruments as a means of interpreting music, to develop the ability to recognize one color and to learn to use it for musical interpretation, to develop mental and physical coordination through manipulation of the instruments, to develop musical memory and use this is meaningful ensemble work. And last is to develop the basic skills and fundamentals of music through enjoyable instrumental activities. So next is classifications of instruments. The first classification of instrument is chordophones. These are the instruments which strings which may be bowed or plucked or strummed. Examples include the violin, violoncello, cello, viola, contrabass, and bass viola. So next is aerophones, instrument made to sound by blowing air into the tube by means of the mouth pursed against the mouthpiece of embouchure, or blowing through the lips or the nose, or blowing air by putting the mouthpiece and its vibrating reeds inside the mouth. So the examples of aerophones are cornet, trumpet, trombone, horn, tuba, flute, clarinet, and more. So next classification is membranophones. The third group instruments are the membranophones, which are so called because they have a piece of membrane or similar material stretched over a hollow end of a cylinder, which is made to sound by beating with the drumstick. So the examples of membranophones are drums and more. The last classification is idiophones. The fourth group of instruments include the following: triangle, xylophones or glockenspiel, marimba, castanets, and cymbals. Idiophones are played by hitting, shaking, and rubbing. So the following are examples of idiophones.
So let's move on to the last part of the 5 facets of music teaching. So the last facets of music teaching is movement. So what is movement and what is the purpose in the music teaching? Okay, so movement incorporating music and movement into early childhood education can help young children with development, social interaction, and language growth. In regards to that, music for children is something they can associate with through movement. When they hear it, they sway to it, dance to it, they hear it, they react to it with movements that they want. So it's up to them on how they respond to the music that they hear. Okay, so the last one is it is important part of learning experience. So meaning movement is very important in learning experiences by the students. So when we talk about music, it leads to movement. It's hard to listen to music without moving in some way, even if it's just moving your toes, head, or even your fingertips. Movement is how we interact with the environment and define the space we occupy in the world. We move to explore, crawling leads to walking, and walking leads to hopping, skipping, and jumping. So let's go on to early childhood. So when we talk about early childhood, early childhood education for children 8 to 8 years of age and younger is the beginning of the student's academic experience. So meaning, this is an important time of learning and brain development for children in preparation for the rest of their education. Playing music and moving to a beat provides stimulating experiences for young children and fosters learnings and at home or in the classroom. Parents and early childhood teachers can incorporate music and movement into our daily routine. The next is brain development. So, according to the Early Childhood Music and Movement Association, 85% of brain development occurs by the time a child reaches 3 years. As children grow, they need to learn specific activities that are important for development. So, for an example, very young children begin to squat and crawl or for movement, and while these activities are part of eventually learning to walk, they're also essential. They're also essential for brain development. Additionally, patterned activities at home or in the preschool classroom, such as clapping to music or jumping in the time to beat, stimulate brain function and help the brain to organize thoughts and behaviors. So the last one that is being part of the movement is language. Language has its own tempo. Tempo. Speaking a language fluently involves regular pauses, stops, and starts in appropriate places. For example, most people do not speak in constant, running diatribe of words. Rather, they insert pauses between phrases. They use accents and they increase or decrease the overall speed of speech. Just like what I did today. So I am going to increase or decrease my speaking. So let's continue. Music has a tempo, and teaching young children songs that have rhythm and beats or learning to march in time to a tune can help students to learn the rhythm of speaking and improve their communication skills. So that's why the movement is very important. It is because it is our way of responding to it. So that is the 5 facets of music teaching. Hope you learn something in our discussion. Goodbye and God bless.